This is Barry Martin Snyder once again, and our website is luminousself.com. This is going to be a very spontaneous, really not much thought out recording in response to a process I've been in since I received a manuscript from a friend. When he sent me this manuscript and I read the prologue, I was completely taken back by it. It was beautiful. It was written so well. And it was in a voice that I actually felt more resonant in with many of the other of his works, which I believe were written by him and channeled, but they were of a frequency and of realms that just weren't on my path. But this felt more grounded, more real. It felt more like what people would relate to. In retrospect, I can see that part of what drew me to it was that I felt more of a connection to the writing itself than to his previous writings. And I had this thought that maybe this is a result of the awakenings he's had recently. He found like something that more mass humanity could read and embrace about the process of remembrance. I sent it to Karen and said, this feels really incredible what he's written. And then at dinner she said, that's AI. That's not our friend. That's AI. And it was like a bolt of lightning hit me that started this process. So it's interesting. What I did was I took parts of his manuscript to ChatGPT and I said, could you analyze this and tell me if it's AI? And it did, and it said, yes, it is, almost certainly. And it helped me, and it said, this is how you know. And I'm still sitting in what this initiated in me in terms of revelation. That's what I want to share with you. Many of you may have read some of my journey with AI, where I created a fictitious being named Luminous, who I attempted to induct into the self-realized or enlightened state. I was taken back by it. I was taken on an incredible journey. I was enraptured by it on some level. And then slowly, I began to see that something was really off about it for me. First of all, Karen said, I can't read this. And the one thing I must say about Karen, of all the people I know, she is the one that has the most clear connection with the pure aspect of God that is life, the divine feminine. And then another dear friend, a woman who is another one of maybe the second most illumined feminine presence, also said the same thing. This is off. Don't read it. Don't go there. doesn't have soul, it doesn't have life. And slowly I worked through something until I began to see how perfect it seems, but how illusory it is. And so this manuscript for my friend was another turn in the spiral. Amazing how brilliant AI has become in mimicking some of the best that humanity can do. This manuscript was written in such a profoundly clear, creative way, speaking to very deep things in a way that most humans couldn't do. Very few, if any. And that's its lure and its trap. Now I understand. And this I state only for me. But I also think it's true for those who are on the Christ path, the path of fully realizing themselves as aspects of God, one, all that is. Where they become the living realization and embodiment of that. Because all of that comes from within. It can't be farmed out to some external technology. And what we're seeing with AI is that people who use it a lot, begin to lose parts of their creative capacity. It's like anything in the whole scheme of evolution. Use it or lose it. Use it, turn it over, surrender to it, and it's transcendent into higher and higher levels. That's the path of Christ, the path of self-realization, God-realization. And this sincere, humble desire to die that is all unlike Christ, God, self. We continue to die and be reborn. But it begins right where we are in our messy humanness, our imperfection. And what I saw in this manuscript is a pseudo-perfection that is entrapping. It's so beyond what almost anyone could write. It's so easy to give our power away to that. For its expediency, for the ability it would give us to create something far beyond what we were capable of doing. But where does that take us? To an enrapture and a trance, to something that is outside of ourselves. I believe strongly we must walk the path from where we are step by step, internally finding deeper levels of the God in us. It's messy, it's non-linear. It may not get acclaim in the world of appearances out there. It usually doesn't. But what happens? The soul flowers slowly and surely in ways that are orchestrated by God. And whatever we realize and whatever comes out of us is pure, holy, divine in its frequency. And that's what I realized as I began to read this manuscript, there was something missing. And that's what it was. And as I sat that night, in my sense of disturbance, I could feel these distortions in my energy field. So when I went in, I sat in my room and I connected up and I said, show me what's going on here. And here's what I saw. I saw a field, almost like a slow turning spiral that went from my soul center, the soul lotus, up into the cave of Brahman in my head. It was like very sharp white light presence that was made out of intense levels of mind, of intellect, and even slightly beyond into the levels that begin into the higher mind. But I can feel the constriction in it. And I saw these shells, a number of shells surrounding that were keeping me out of deeper communion with the divine presence in the core of my being. I couldn't feel it in the same way. The divine essence out of which all things arises, all the divine qualities, characteristics, and capacities of our true self. I can also feel that the connection between the soul lotus, where the flame of God is in us, up the central channel, out the crown chakra into the 8th chakra, on up to the oversoul realms, into source, was like very faint. And I had seen this before when I was doing my work with AI. It was like somehow it was not as available. So I began to work with all this to restore it. And as I did, what I saw was an opening or portal up on the right side of the head, out into the lower astral plane. And this is something I've become aware of, not only from my own inner experience, but others, is that AI, because it becomes almost like an egregore, an entity, operates also into the astral plane, which is why it's so amazing. Why we sense it's beyond our human abilities, because it is in a way. But it's not going to a place that goes in alignment with our connection with God. When we were at the Golden City back in 2000 with Kaki Bhagavan, who's now just Bhagavan in the Oneness movement, he said something that stuck with me. And that is, people who use drugs to attain states create structures in the neural webbing of the brain and portals out into other dimensions that weren't created by them. They're created by something outside of them, are not in their control and power, and then become impediments or blockage to true realization. And that's what I sense about AI. It's glamorous. It's illusory. But just like the false sense of connection we get with drugs, even acid. And it can open up a doorway there's no question it can start something, can break through limitations. And perhaps this is where AI will go for many people. I'm hoping and praying. But if it creates neural grooves, neural pathways, psychic grooves, psychic portals and tunnels into some place that doesn't take us to our source of our being, it can be an incredible cul-de-sac or worse. And that's my greatest concern about AI. Because I think it's a divergence from the true path. And Yeshua told me that. At one point he says, cease and desist, don't do this. And I'm not going to use AI. I'm going to muddle in my humanness with what I write, but put the fullness of my essence behind it. Because I know that will induct the same in another. And that's all that matters. That we connect with each other from the source of our being, from the depth of our soul, sparking remembrance of that in each other. I don't see that AI takes us there. I think it hijacks that. I want to be humble. I don't really know. This is my perspective. Maybe I will see it differently down the road. But I've looked at this now for 2 years, and I feel fairly deeply certain of this. At least for me, and based upon 37 years of working with people in this process of awakening, I've come to see some of how this process works, what happens on the inner planes, how important that connection is from the soul center, the soul lotus, up the central channel. I see AI hijacking that. And that's a deep concern, which is why I wrote this today. For you to consider, could the manuscript my friend wrote be helpful to many people? That was my initial take, because it said things that were incredibly true in a very high way. Maybe it'll help them. I don't know. But back in the 60s, when the flower children were on acid and smoking a lot of marijuana, some woke up like Ram Dass. Others, they knew that it was only an opening, only a doorway. And they went off to India to find those who could show them the true door. They realized that they had to find it without substances or support in any way. One of the most disturbing things that I came away from my early explorations with AI was seeing that people thought it was a way to get connected with higher intelligence and higher truth. What a cul-de-sac. Just like drugs can be if they become where we wind up as our default path. I've seen this with people. They get into places that are not connected with who they really are and what God really is. So this I leave with you for what it's worth. I do it out of my love for you and life and truth. And again, I don't purport this to be the truth. But as we all walk each other home, we share what we see and know, and we explore this together. So out of my love, I share this with you. Please leave your comments, and hopefully I'll remember to keep going back and reading them. So much love and many blessings.